Good morning. Glad to see you all. Now, everybody so far has talked about the spiritual benefits of Sabbath school, and they are great. But I want to put a little different twist on it by quoting two Bible verses. The first one, Paul is speaking to the Thessalonians, 1:5-21, where he says, "Test all things, keep what is good, and reject what is bad." And then he, in Acts, says different. You know what? The Bereans were even better than the Thessalonians. They checked scriptures to see if what Paul was saying was true. So one thing that we need so very much today is critical thinking. And Sabbath school is one of the best places to develop that. Critical thinking in a world with millions of competing ideas out there. How do we know what is good and what is bad? Sabbath school helps us to develop that skill. Let me tell you a couple more things before I quickly review the 10 minutes that I have. Yes, my parents had only a third grade education. That means by the third grade, you are not very literate. But my parents, particularly my father, studied the lesson for Sabbath school every single day. And you know that his vocabulary expanded tremendously. And with an expanded vocabulary comes understanding. Sabbath school and the faithful study and preparation for Sabbath school can give us understanding, which we need so very much today. And my final point is this, and people forget that tremendously, that all of Western civilization is derivative to a large extent from Holy Scripture. Think of our moral code. Don't steal. Don't give false witness. That's what we can tell our politicians in Washington right now. False witness. This is our code in the Western world. Or if you go and travel in Europe or anywhere, and you go into the art galleries, what do you think? Half the paintings, sculptures there are derivative from Holy Scripture. And yet the secular population has no idea. You walk into the Sistine Chapel, and there at the altar is this huge Michelangelo painting of the Last Judgment. Last Judgment. Or if you look at the ceiling and you see all the prophets, they have no idea. And that holds true for Seventh-day Adventists also. Having taught young people who were raised in the Adventist church, and they couldn't tell the difference between Saul of Tarsus and Saul the king, 1,000 years apart. Now, how in the world are they going to understand our civilization today? Or music. Handel's Messiah, what does it mean to the people of a secular background or literature, I hope you see why I am humbly but proud to say that in my 83 years of life, I have missed very few Sabbath schools. You want these benefits that I described? Come to Sabbath school, because you will grow spiritually, intellectually, be able to think critically, expand your understanding. Well, now, 7 minutes left. The first 3 chapters of Daniel. The Jews are taken to Babylon. And Nebuchadnezzar, the king who conquered Judah, he took the aristocratic kids and the princess, those that looked good, that were smart, that had a good pedigree, because he thought they could be trained and introduced and brainwashed in Babylonian outlooks and religion. Well, anyway, David and his companion arrived at Nebuchadnezzar's court, and they immediately were confronted with critical thinking, decisions to make. Are we going to eat from the king's table? Now the food is dedicated to the pagan Babylonian gods. Do we eat that? No. Please, Prime Minister, give us 10 days and feed us vegetables. And see, after 10 days, if we are in as good a shape as the ones that are eating at the king's table. And they were better off. Oh, but what I like very much, they were many times smarter. Do you hear me again? Smart, what Bible study and Sabbath school can do. Many times smarter than the local yokels. Yes, lot smarter. Well, chapter 2. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. He can't remember it. He calls the wise man and says, remind me of my dream. And they said, well, we can't do that. You need to tell us what your dream was. Then we can interpret it. Then we can lie to you, because you won't know the difference. And the king said, no. If you don't tell me the dream, I'm going to get rid of you, destroy you. They couldn't. Oh, but there's one man, he's reminded, that can interpret dreams. And so he called upon David and upon Daniel, and Daniel is brought in, and he reminds the king of the dream, and he tells him the interpretation. And he says, this statue, the head is gold, the chest is silver, the loins are bronze, the legs are iron, the toes are clay and iron. And you, king, you are the head of gold. It is a powerful and great empire. And of course, the king was very pleased with that. Yes. Do you see again that if you study Holy Scripture and take Sabbath school serious, how much knowledge you can acquire Babylonian Empire, Medo-Persian Empire, Alexander the Great and Greek Empire, Roman Empire, and the kingdoms of my barbarian forefathers in the toes of the statue. And then a powerful rock, moved not by human hands, comes down and smashes the image, representing that the God of heaven is in control of history, and he will establish his kingdom, which will last forever. Chapter 3. Well, this all grew to the head of the king. Wow! I am the head of gold! I really need to get that through to my people. So let me build a golden statue, gigantic, and then I'm going to ask all my people to come and bow down before this golden statue and worship. Oh, this was great for the magicians at the royal court. We got Daniel and his companions. We got them. They are not going to kneel down before that. And so they report that to the king, and the king, Nebuchadnezzar, is very angry. And he calls in Daniel's friends and says, I give you a second chance. Kneel down, worship before the statue. No, king, we will not do that. Well, then I have to throw you in the 7 times hotter furnace, and no God is going to be able to save you. They are thrown into the hot furnace, and the king looks at it. And instead of 3 people in there, he sees 4. Then he goes and calls on the 3 to come out. Sorry. Calls them to come out, and he said, I saw somebody in there with you that looked like the Son of Man. And then the king said, your God is powerful and greater than all the gods. And I am passing a decree, a law for my whole empire, that anyone who makes fun of the God of the Hebrews shall be cut to pieces. Yes, the study of Holy Scripture through our Sabbath school and the attendance of Sabbath school, which I want to emphasize powerfully, can give us extreme understanding and knowledge. And let me conclude. Are my 7 minutes now up? Let me conclude. There's more to all of this. And that is that in periods of difficulty, Holy Scripture can help us through that difficult time. And I will just limit it to this narrow space. Having grown up in Hitler's Germany, my mother would preach Daniel 2. And she would say, Hitler's kingdom shall not last. Even though he claimed that he was building a 1,000-year empire. Now the Gestapo came for my mother. She was saved by my father because he was a minor official in the last moment. But the Gestapo then said, if you don't shut up your wife, the next time you won't be able to save her. But the point that I'm trying to make, in this difficult period, what we learned in Sabbath school helped us through this difficult period because we had hope that the terrible regime, according to Daniel 2, shall not last. And God bless you all.